We're here in Gifford, Illinois, and you can see behind me a large pile of trash. All of this stuff has been pulled from the city in the aftermath of the tornadoes. Wooden boards, metal, there's insulation, and you can see on this side of the building, the entire side of this building is completely blown out. We saw pictures where the water was rising above some of these no parking signs. We're actually here on 1st Avenue and 38th Street, and take a look down here. The digging has already begun. A camera like this is so small, so unrecognizable, that chances are you'll go into a bathroom and not even see it. The suspect they were investigating ran off towards the school. The school was immediately put on lockdown. Her family says she got into the car of somebody she knew and they drove off. An officer here on scene told us that nobody's injured and the fire is out. Stay with CBS 2 News. We'll bring you the latest as it develops out here. Meanwhile, on the other side of the river, on the west side, some say people over here are being left in the dark. The couple says they hope to remain in Gifford as long as possible to help with the recovery effort. Nowadays, they're not looking outside your car or inside your car. Actually, they're looking underneath it. We spoke to the experts today. They say it's not what's on the surface, but what's underneath that counts. A rainy, downright dreary day has given way to an absolutely beautiful night here in Iowa City. And these aren't computer generated, these aren't any tricks, these are just shot by your camera, correct?
Yeah.
It's something you don't see every day, and to watch and hear and experience that was just unbelievable. And as I and many other people discovered tonight, the odds are about 1 in 259 million. Take a look at this, it's pretty interesting. It's a map from the U.S. Census Bureau that shows where poverty is in America down to the street. Much like this ear of corn, you have to peel back the layers to get the full picture. Visitors to the clerk's office are putting the stamp of approval on the new hours. Fortunately, all the cases they investigated turned out to be a false alarm or a hoax. But what happens if you're caught stealing cable television? Some companies don't immediately throw the book at you. At Mediacom, for example, it's 3 strikes and you're out. Tiffany, police say the devices were discovered on the field after a game Tuesday night. Tonight, as they work to nail down a suspect, parents and coaches are reacting with surprise and disgust. It's almost hard to imagine someone stealing the innocence from such an innocent game.
My kids play over here all the time, even when they don't have baseball games, they're over here playing with their friends.
But here in Cascade, just miles away from the famous Field of Dreams, parents are hearing their worst nightmare.
Unfortunately, there's some kind of sick people out there.
The Dubuque County Sheriff's Office says the 2 cameras found were similar to these.
They're cheap. Once you have your recording, you just go plug it into your computer, your laptop, and you would have a full video.
And if you blink, you'll miss them. Police say a camera like this is so small, so unrecognizable, that chances are you'll go into a bathroom and not even see it. Deb Bertling, who lives next to the field, finds it extra disturbing.
You never think it's going to happen in your own backyard, and it literally did, unfortunately.
It's also troubling to coach Jim Reinke, whose team was on the field across from the bathrooms Tuesday night. He says none of his kids were affected.
Hopefully we'll figure out some answers as it comes up. I'm sure the kids will be wondering and want to know some answers to what happened too.
Police say the incident doesn't warrant panic, but they do encourage vigilance. As for the person or persons responsible,
I think they should get the book thrown at them.
Well, I hope there's some justice. I hope there's some apologies. I could tell you some things that I really want, but probably aren't appropriate for this time.
Now, Lynn says they do have a suspect in mind. Depending on what they find in the camera, their charge could go from a serious misdemeanor for invasion of privacy to a full-on felony for child pornography. Jason Hackett, Fox 28 News.
CBS 2 News reporter Jason Hackett joins us with part 1 of the final Citizens Police Academy.
The CRPD uses the X26 taser, one type of electronic control device. Police Chief Wayne German says it's the most effective tool he's experienced since he joined law enforcement. He says it reduces injuries on both ends, suspect and officer. Academy students who were brave enough got a taste of just how effective it is. From dangerous
taser, taser, taser
to necessary, society's view on electronic control devices hits both extremes, and both sides have their arguments. The human rights group Amnesty International says there have been more than 300 deaths related to the taser brand since 2001. But Chris Smaby with CRPD says none of these cases show that the taser was the direct cause of death.
The taser
got them, and as a result, something happened afterwards. What we call excited delirium may have kicked in. They were on drugs. They had other issues going on.
Smaby says the power of these devices isn't lost on police. They have to get stunned before they can even have one, as demonstrated here by Sergeant Christy Hamblin.
It always reassures me that I don't have to do it again.
And now, as Citizens Academy students come up on graduation, it's our turn.
What we're doing now is sending a shock wave from here to here.
First, the clips were applied. Each student got down on the ground, and then...
Is there anything particular you want to say before this?
Oh, Mary, Mother of God.
Laughter literally turns into shock.
Would you tell me your name again, please?
Landon.
Landon? Okay, where'd you go to school, Landon?
Lindmeyer. Oh my God.
And the longest 5 seconds of your life. At the end, no one was hurt or injured. But the impression they leave lasts forever.
It was like a pulsating, like every muscle in your body tense up.
It's very humbling when you don't have that sense of control. You get newfound appreciation when you experience what it'd be like.
An appreciation that gives perspective to officers.
It's something to just not use lightly. They need to make sure they use it during an appropriate time.
Good evening, Tiffany and Scott. Police wrapped up their investigation for the day at around 5:30. We were out here with them all day as they tried to piece the puzzle of this crime together. You know, neighbors are also trying to piece things together as their normally quiet existence was anything but. Police cars, caution tape, and body bags among the last things you would expect to see here.
Moved over here to get away from all the noise over there.
That silence was shattered early Thursday morning. Investigators say just after 6:30, 47-year-old Robert Livingston arrived at the home of his mother-in-law, 73-year-old Linda Huber. Livingston's wife, 41-year-old Ingrid Livingston, was also at the home at the time. Then the unthinkable.
Robert Livingston entered the home, shot Linda Huber, and then shot Ingrid Livingston before he turned the weapon on himself.
Police say 2 children in the home at the time were not injured. The entire block was shut down by police for hours.
They were still here when I got home.
As investigators went back and forth into the house, piecing the puzzle together, neighbors watched on with what can only be described as a mix of curiosity and shock.
I thought we had a nice neighborhood. It was just a surprise to us out here because nothing ever happens out here.
Their thoughts soon turned towards the children inside the home during the shooting.
I just hope the kids have some place to go.
Donald Feldman, who we caught sweeping his driveway, echoed his neighbor's sentiment.
Anybody getting killed or anything like that, that's quite a tragedy.
Feldman, like many others here, came to escape, retire, find some peace and quiet.
Well, we love it. We're going on, like I say, 7 years being here, maybe 8. We're here until the good Lord takes us home.
For the victims at 3515 Banner Drive, unfortunately, that day came too soon. Now tonight, police are not telling us the motive or the type of gun used in the shooting. They're also not telling us the status of the Livingston's children. Of course, the investigation is ongoing. We're covering the corridor tonight in Cedar Rapids. Jason Hackett, CBS 2 News, 10 at 10. Richard and Janet Sweet, Greg Wells, Sierra Simmons, Luella Copeman. You may not recognize all of them, but they are all victims of homicide, and they were all honored tonight. It wasn't supposed to be this way.
You never forget. Every single day you remember.
A mother wasn't supposed to lose her daughter.
Such a horrific time in your life.
A daughter wasn't supposed to lose her role model.
Kind of hard to think about growing up without her not being there for my wedding or prom.
But that's what death can do, especially a sudden, violent death. It can take an ordinary life, an ordinary family, and break it into pieces.
You're numb. You're totally numb.
Sarah McKay, Kathy's daughter, Amelia's mother, was killed by her boyfriend back in 2010 in Iowa City. She was only 34, one of many lost to violent crimes. But McKay says the love and support of other surviving families is what keeps everyone strong as they come together to think about the moments that tore them apart.
We can't be alone. We have to know that someone else is here
for us.
Tonight was about taking these moments, reflecting on them, and finding comfort and peace, whether it's in the flickering light of a candle or a heavenly thought.
She's probably having a cup of coffee and looking down and saying, oh, isn't that nice?
Whether it's in the harmony of a note or a thorny rose, a reminder that all at once, life can be painful, simple, and beautiful.
Her favorite color is pink.
So that pink rose up there would probably be for her.
Probably all be for her, honestly.
So far this year, Cedar Rapids has seen 7 homicides. That's more in 4 months than the area has seen in any given year in recent decades. 3 of those are still being investigated by police. There was no sweeter sound today than the hum of a working car engine. But it's a luxury that many in the corridor weren't afforded.
Very frustrating. Couldn't make it into work today.
Enter Jan Dillon.
Give her a shot, see if it's old.
Who on this day is nothing short of a superhero.
We've been pretty steady today.
With her trusty radio by her side.
Orchard Drive, Northwest.
She flew, better yet, drove from neighborhood to neighborhood.
A lot of batteries, a lot of flat tires today too. And just cars that just plain wouldn't start.
Along the way, she rescued damsels.
It's my daughter's car. She came out to go to work and it just wouldn't do a thing.
And even a couple of dudes in distress.
I had a friend come over and try to jump it. That didn't work, so I figured that was the last resort.
From the word go this morning, conditions were less than ideal.
And I wanted to go back inside.
So imagine tow truck drivers like Jan having to deal with it for nearly 12 hours.
I don't mind the cold, I just don't like the extreme cold.
And as a cold day began to give way to an even colder night, Jan's day continues, because for any superhero, the work goes on.
Till it's done or till they get sick of us. No.
The airport. It's a constant cycle. People come and people go. It can be the scene of both happy hellos and grim goodbyes. But Wednesday night is different.
So Grandma's going to greet him up there, and then they're going to turn the corner, and then...
E6 Staff Sergeant Rick Ryder served in Vietnam from 1969 to 1970. At the time, public opposition to the war was strong, and when Ryder got back home, the welcome was less than warm. His son Kenny was barely old enough to remember.
I was 6 months old when he came back, so I didn't get a chance to do any cheering or yelling for him.
But that is about to change. Rick was selected for a trip to Vietnam for Purple Heart recipients. It was a chance to visit the country he once marched through as a soldier. It gave his family an idea.
He never really got the welcome home that I felt like he deserved. He makes the sacrifice for us, so we all made the sacrifice for him and showed up.
So armed with flags, signs, and hats, a soldier got his proper welcome. And more than 40 years later, hello became hello again.
I guess I'm at a loss for words. Pretty special. This is pretty cool. Yeah, it's way cool.
In a terminal full of a never-ending cycle of highs and goodbyes, Rick Ryder got the best greeting of them all, one that was decked out in the red, white, and blue he fought for 4 decades in the making.
All you gotta do is read the signs.
3 decades have culminated in regret for Travis Hoying, because after all these years, there's only one thing he wanted to say to T-Bone Taylor before he died. One thing he wanted to say to the man that stole his father from him.
I didn't get to do what I was called to do, what I really wanted to do, and that was meet him face to face and forgive him.
That desire to forgive weighs on his mind, even though Travis was only 3 when it happened. His childlike innocence sticks out against a backdrop of tragedy.
My last memory is at the funeral of grabbing my uncle's hand and saying, "Come look at Dad, he's sleeping, he looks really nice."
For others, the memories are more visceral.
I don't walk in the front door without looking at the plaque out there, without thinking about it.
Waterloo Mayor Buck Clark was on the force back in 1981. So was Captain Tim Pillak.
When it's one of our own, from our department, it does hit home.
Both men remember the officers.
Wayne Rice was a kind of a large, jovial guy.
And both remember the events. Pilak says the search for the cop killer was extensive and at times difficult.
Middle of July, it was hot, and the corn was, the corn was quite high, so we had to use tractors, farm equipment.
Taylor was eventually found in an abandoned house in LaPorte City and was sentenced to life in prison. Hoying Rice Field here in Waterloo sits as a tribute to two men that lost their lives in the line of duty. It also serves as a reminder of an event that rocked not just several families, but an entire community.
That happens in other places, in bigger cities. It doesn't happen in Waterloo, and to have two officers that were shot was really devastating.
But Clark says it provided a rallying point, an opportunity for the community to support a police department that desperately needed it. Support from his family helped Travis move on, and even though he can forgive, he can't necessarily forget.
Just because he died, it doesn't bring us closure. It just closes a chapter.
In Waterloo, Jason Hackett, CBS 2 News, 10 at 10.